I spent 2 hours in one day listening to Buddha about his life, Siddhartha Gautama. And it was the first time I've done that. I've compiled 2 hours of, as opposed to listening to bits and pieces about it, because I really wanted to understand why this man, age 29, left the castle. And I wanted to understand what he was trying to accomplish and what he actually did accomplish from doing this. And one of the things that he thought was going to happen was when his child was born, that he was going to be chained, along with his wife and family. That he actually called his son, he named his son something in Indian, like ball of chain or chain, something to that effect. And then he left the castle and he started to starve himself and did all these things to experience suffering that he never experienced before because he was behind a castle his whole life. His father wanted to shelter and protect him because when he was born, his mother died, and his father wanted him to follow his footsteps to be a king of the castle. So he was surrounded by beautiful women, dancing, just like amazing. There was no reason for him to leave. But when he did, and I'm not going to get into deep details of the story, he wanted to understand more, and that was related to my life, being sheltered and protected, and seeing the outside world behind these castle walls, outside of these castle walls, and what I saw, it was hard for me to go back to being ignorant, and so what I thought was, or what my family thought at the time was a curse, was actually a blessing in disguise for me, which didn't make sense until later on in life. And so I want to share with you guys that it's not always where you're at, it's where you're going. But at least I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I at least knew that I was going to have a good life. And that belief system created my subconscious mind to move my body to that flow and direction. Because if I didn't do what my body and my soul wanted to do, that's when I started experiencing health problems later on. Because in my opinion, I believe, since I know myself better than anybody else, I believe that my body stayed comforted for so long that it became uncomfortable. It became very uncomfortable to sit on that nice leather sofa and just bullshitting myself. And then eventually the things that became very comfortable started off with being uncomfortable because it was brand new, and not because it was something that wasn't meant for me. It was actually something that was destined for me, that if I stayed back from pursuing it, it made me uncomfortable. So you can kind of like get emotions and logic kind of confused at times, and that's the reason why I think it's important to meditate. He taught meditation. I teach meditation. It's just that I'm living in modern times to use this technology to spread to the masses the way that he couldn't back 2,500 years ago. Another thing he discovered, when he was starving himself and a girl gave him a bowl of rice, he realized that once he ate that food, he felt amazing and restored. And he also realized that the human compassion and all these things, his family back at home that he left behind, his baby and his wife, he would rather be there. And that was like something that was beautiful and that people should appreciate, etc. And so all these things that he was doing wasn't the way. It was not the answer. Another thing he realized, he didn't care if people believed in him or accepted everything he was saying. He wanted to practice what he was preaching by accepting himself as he is, and by letting people do the same for themselves. If they didn't believe him, they can freely walk away and do whatever. But he was also okay with people trying to argue and challenge his belief, just like me. And so what that was telling me was, once he started to accept himself as he is, we as people, the more we accept ourselves as we are, we would be a lot happier with our imperfections in life, our flaws in life. And when I relate to that is just that I was born, being a good looking kid with a nice voice, and all these things was freely given to me. But as a man and as a human, we have to sometimes work on maintaining the things that was given to us for free, just like our families maintaining that relationship, that balance. We were freely born through them, DNA, genetics, etc. And so it's, you don't have to do any of these things I say, but like, you understand what I mean. You want to stay alive, you have to maintain and eat food and put it in your body and wake up and all that. And so once he also realized that it was the mundane things that was the actual enlightenment, that was when he found true freedom. And that's exactly where I'm at in my life. But it took for me to go through health issues dealing with my heart. Number one example, because when I could feel something in the middle of my chest tensing up or not, or beating too fast and overly drinking caffeine throughout these years and whatnot, that was when it was a wake up call for me to really change my way of thinking about myself, and making new choices that I've never made before, that may hurt or it may be scary, but it was worth it in the end. The way that I choose to delete a number from people that I feel like is wasting my time, and being okay with making a decision and walking away with it and meaning it, instead of just asking myself what if. Well, that what if is the actual choice that I make. And it doesn't have to be intense. We judge ourselves so harshly at times. It's like you either do it and or you don't do it, and if whatever the choice you choose is still a choice you have to make. But if you're lost and confused, it may produce even more stress than, and that's what you call being stagnant, erupting like a volcano. And so once I've learned all these things and I realized that about myself, the Buddha just really means the awakened one, because people awaken when they stop letting things insult their soul. And that was exactly what I did. I had to make a choice to go to where the light and the sun feels warm.